Right, well, Artlink Central has been looking at our digital opportunities in future for a while, and with Ambition Approach, we found an opportunity to look at our overall digital capacity and to begin to secure some funding to look at a digital strategy for the organisation for the future. So we applied through Ambition Approach and were awarded £5,000. And we were allocated two consultants, Abigail Carney and Chris Elvery. Began the process with Abigail by holding a series of senior management team and staff consultation meetings, looking at our combined experience and skills and confidence with digital, and exploring the potential for its future use in the organisation, including where we thought we might even save money. That audit was really positive. It told us that despite some clunky tools and processes, despite a lack of time and resource being put into our IT infrastructure, we actually are quite digitally savvy. We are exploring the opportunities that digital offers at the company, both in terms of organizational development and content. And we also discovered that we are not defensive about the changes that we need to make. So all in all, it gave us the sense that we are digitally ready. Our Ambition Approach was initially inspired by the opportunities that we thought we might be able to take advantage of by embedding digital into some of our program areas and exploring the potential that digital has to offer in terms of delivering participatory creative arts experiences. What we then came to realize as we progressed on the approach was actually that in order to fully realize our capability in terms of our services and programs, we first needed to get our digital right for our organization at an organizational level. And we needed to look at our own infrastructure, our communications, and our own capacity as the priority. And that was, I think, the major significant decision that we made in the initial stages of our approach. Once we had focused on our own organizational capacity as being the main area of development, it became about writing the plan. There were two strands to the plan that we developed. The first was the review of our own IT infrastructure, looking particularly at how we managed and developed evidence-based practice as our core service. So it became about how we could better interface with our partners, with artists and other freelancers, and collect really useful data, evidence of the impact we were having on participants in a more succinct and efficient way using digital. The second aspect of the plan was really to focus in on communications. Two things. One was communication through our website and social media and further developing that resource. And the second aspect was around connecting that to a cohesive and sustainable and useful database solution. We didn't have a lot of time to collect data and information and have conversations with developers. So the result of that was that actually a lot of the solutions offered by developers felt quite generic, felt less like they would personally meet our needs, and also required us to be a lot more engaged in a deeper conversation. We also found that the kinds of prices and costs that were being suggested were much higher than perhaps were needed for what we were looking for. Taking that aside, we also questioned, I think, some of the problems that came back from those developers. For instance, we work with Squarespace website, and we found that most of the developers that quoted back to us were unfamiliar with that particular platform, and we were then drawn into looking at a completely new platform as opposed to tools that we were already familiar with. At this point as well, we began to sort of think about whether or not these were quite the right solutions or whether we needed a different approach entirely. And one of the suggestions that really came up for us was the idea of having a geek in residence, somebody who was technical, who maybe spent some time in our organisation and got to know our services and could find maybe cheaper solutions. And that was interestingly what came back and was reflected back to us in the feedback from Ambition Scotland were some of those potential other alternatives. And I think what it did teach us was to, in some ways, when you've got a gut reaction to a solution that's offered to you, is to step back and go with your guns, because nobody knows your business better than you do.
What are the next steps?
Well, fundamentally, we have a plan. And that plan, in a sense, hasn't changed. We still know what tools and processes we want to discover and address. We have had lots of success, actually, in taking forward some of our content ideas. And we have a digital artist in residence in the children's ward in Forth Valley Royal Hospital. We've been working with Edina and Edinburgh College of Art colleagues on digital apps with adults with learning disabilities, and our performance art, live arts group, Abrupt Encounters. Digital is making its way into almost every aspect of the way that we're delivering services and designing our programs. So we're making strides ahead in that, and of course we've been able to do a little bit of in-house tweaking on some of the areas that we've not been able to address. Fundamentally, we've not been able to secure the resources in order to realise the full plan. That's given us some breathing room to maybe step back and explore some of the alternative approaches that I kind of mentioned earlier. And certainly we'll be looking very closely to see where Creative Scotland, Ambition Scotland and other partners in the sector are going in terms of exploring capacity through Geeks in Residence and some of their future funding initiatives, and see whether or not we can persevere with making ourselves digitally ready and digitally to reaching our capability.